Hey, what's going on? Jeff Ratcliffe here. One of the biggest themes I'm seeing in 2019 fantasy football drafts is there is a ton of value to be had at wide receiver. You can get solid wide receiver options. I'm talking guys you can start on a week in, week out basis well past the 4th round, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, even 9th round. There are guys who you're going to be able to get on draft day in PPR leagues this year. So I'm going to run through 5 names who stand out to me. We'll start in the 4th round, so a little early, but there's still value to be had with Robert Woods. Last year, he finished 10th in PPR scoring among wide receivers, so that's solid right there, and he's coming off the board as the 18th receiver in 2019 draft so far. That's good value. Now, I know he's sharing the stage with Brandon Cooks, and Cooper Kupp will be back this year as well, but there's a lot of targets to be had in that Los Angeles offense, and Woods is certainly going to suck them up. What do you like about Woods is he may not have as high of a ceiling as Brandon Cooks, but he certainly has a higher floor on a weekly basis, and he may not have as high of a floor as Cooper Kupp, but he has a higher ceiling. So it's a nice combination there that you get with Robert Woods. I don't know if he repeats as a top 12 option, but he's a very good shot to be a top 15 option this year, and you don't have to pay that price. Now, it's just a minor discount. We have to go, of course, a little bit later in the draft to find better discounts, and in the 6th round, a couple guys stand out to me. First and foremost, Alshon Jeffery. I know he hasn't necessarily been the player that he was earlier in his career. It's been a while since he's topped 1,000 receiving yards, but he is a touchdown option in that offense, a red zone guy. He has 15 combined touchdowns over the last 2 seasons, and of course, last year, Carson Wentz banged up. You had Nick Foles towards the end of the season. Wentz is back. Wentz looks like he's on track to be nice and healthy this year as well, which is obviously a boost to that offense. Let's not forget, 2017, Carson Wentz was the number 2 fantasy quarterback before he got hurt. So he can put up some major numbers in that offense. And yes, just like in Los Angeles, there are a lot of mouths to feed. They bring in Deshaun Jackson. Of course, we know Zach Ertz is going to get his. You have the running backs out of the backfield and Nelson Aguilar out of the slot. But Alshon Jeffery is the true number 1 in that offense. Now, he's not going to get 160 targets this season, but in the same right, could he be a wide receiver 2, a top 24 receiver at the position this year in PPR? Absolutely, and in the 6th round, you aren't paying that price. Now, the other guy, he might even fall to the 7th round, to be honest with you, is Allen Robinson. And here's another player like Alshon that maybe his best fantasy days are in the past, maybe not. But last year, a bit of a disappointment. I don't think anybody this year is talking about Allen Robinson even as a wide receiver 2 candidate. He's often ranked outside of the top 30 in industry rankings across the industry. But when you look at the role in the offense, again, he's the clear number 1, and yes, there are some mouths to feed, but it's an ascending offense the 2nd year here, with Matt Nagy at head coach. Mitchell Trubisky took a step forward last year. He had a 6-touchdown game as well, and he continues, that progress. Allen Robinson as the 32nd wide receiver off the board. And let's not forget, too, he was coming back from a torn ACL last year. As the 32nd wide receiver off the board, that's some solid value there. And again, are you going to rely on him as your top receiver? No. But could he, sniff wide receiver 2 production, top 25 production? Absolutely. And you're getting a little bit of a discount there with Allen Robinson. Now let's bump it back to the 9th round. And like I said, you can still get value in the 9th round. How about Sterling Shepard? And I know before you at me on Twitter, here's the thing. Yes, it's the Giants. But quite often, I'm not willing to take a good running back on a bad team. It just typically doesn't work that well for fantasy purposes. Last year, David Johnson, a prime example. A lot of folks drafted him as the number 3 overall player, and he was a bit of a fantasy disappointment, right? However, good wide receivers on bad teams, not necessarily the worst thing. We've seen wide receivers in the past on bad teams put up big fantasy numbers. Now, Shepard, finally out of the shadow of Odell Beckham Jr., and yes, the Giants did bring in Golden Tate in the offseason, but when you compare the two, both of them as slot receivers, okay, but who's the more versatile receiver? Who's more likely to kick outside? It actually is Shepard. He did a whole heck of a lot at the college level that would suggest that he is capable of doing so. So in a vacuum, who do I choose between Shepard and Tate? It's Shepard every single time, and I think he's sneaky for fantasy purposes. And right now, He's coming off the board as the number 39 wide receiver. So fantasy drafters aren't even endorsing him as a wide receiver 3 at this point. That's solid value. I think he does return wide receiver 3+ production. Finally, the number 42 wide receiver selected in drafts, and I feel like everybody forgets about this guy, Marvin Jones, and definitely overshadowed by his teammate Kenny Golladay. Kenny Golladay is a sexy pick. We love him as a breakout. I love him as a breakout. You can check out our breakout video to see my thoughts on him on this very channel, but his teammate is getting overshadowed here. And let's not forget, okay, 9 games played last year for Marvin Jones. Over those 9 games, he had 59 targets. Over those 9 games, Kenny Golladay had 59 targets. So when he's on the field, it's not as if he's being overshadowed by Kenny Golladay. It's really, they're a 1-1A situation where they're likely going to see equal volume. And if they're seeing equal volume, as much as I love Kenny Golladay, that means Marvin Jones is going to be a big-time value. And where we really like Jones is in the red zone. Last year in those 9 games, he was targeted in the end zone 12 times. The easiest way to score a touchdown in the NFL, get a target in the end zone. He's seeing heavy targets there, and this wasn't a fluke last year. The year before, 2017, he was among the league leaders with 19 end zone targets. So if he sees that sort of volume in the end zone, Marvin Jones has already had 1 double-digit touchdown season in his career. He could very likely do it again this year. And right now, he's almost going in the 10th round of fantasy drafts. That is a supreme value there. I'll take that all day long. Wide receiver, you can wait. You can scoop value throughout the middle rounds of your drafts. Load up a running back early, scoop some value at wide receiver. It's a good plan this year. You don't need to go 0 RB to win your 2019 fantasy football leagues. If you want to check out other values, other rankings, and projections, we have you all covered at ProFootballFocus.com.